Welcome to Destination Adventure, Renovation Edition, everyone's favorite amateur home builder show, where we measure thrice, cut twice, throw that directly into the burn pile and get it mostly right on the third try. Today we're shifting our focus to the inside, which requires some heavy duty power tools. Gonna need a little bit of wattage in the cottage. We've resurrected some cool old things on Destination Adventure. Today's gonna be another one. We have this absolute relic of a generator from the old logging outfit days. It's been sitting here for the better part of 20 years, but it's propane, so should fire up like she's brand new. Let's move some things in the spirit of safety. Easy does it. Absolute precision. Like an engine hoist doctor, basically. Oh, we were stuck on a nail. Slow and steady.
Straighten her out. Steer the other way. There you go. Frick, you're doing it.
Good pace on that one. And just like that, we got a generator. Load up some insulation, and let's cheese this joint.
Midnight, where are you, midnight?
Yeah, you should see the old Ford. Just grinning, fender to fender, hauling this load around. Let me run you through this week's game plan. As you can see, we have a large amount of insulation. Can't tackle that quite yet because we have to prep the floors. Downstairs, we will be trying to resurrect this old floor. We have a great big industrial sander that we've rented. And then upstairs is going to be some type of laminate flooring. The fact that packrats lived in here for so many years, the smell is kind of part of the floor now. So the plywood's getting ripped out and there's nice rough cut lumber underneath. Hopefully this is gonna be flat enough to use as is. If not, it'll be getting sanded. We have these things, they're called a vent chute, and this is gonna block off the entrance to the overhang and then run up here so you still have airflow going up and out your roof, and then we'll insulate on the bottom side of this. If you're the type of person that doesn't appreciate at least a little bit of danger, or you're my mom, go ahead and tune out for just a little bit here.
Should I be here?
Be close to a phone so you can call the ambulance. Fairly happy with this so far. Like anything, slight bit of a learning curve, but like almost every part of this build, I drastically overthunk this. All you're trying to achieve is a channel where the air can vent up and out of the ceiling. Doesn't really have to be that fancy.
I'll paint a pretty picture. Yeah, you can hang it on your wall. Honey child, I'll be alright. I can take you to a place you've never been before. You light me up on the inside. Come alive, revival.
Holy smokes. Not gonna lie to you, I am pretty proud of how this is coming along. And the temperature is climbing by the second in here. Time to move on to the walls.
Started too fast, now you can't slow down. The runaway girl in a hurricane tank, singing a song that you never really knew, and I need you to come back home.
Big moment. Going in with the final piece for upstairs. It fits like a glove. Must be a professional insulation cutter over there somewhere.
No matter where you go, I'll be waiting right back home. Don't forget where you came from.
Upstairs is as done as we're gonna get it. So now we're heading downstairs. And to sand the floor, we have to remove this staircase. And we're gonna be putting in a different staircase anyways, so I'm not worried about being gentle with this one. She's probably coming out with the sledgehammer.
I think it's funny that boy you met.
Wow. Good job.
I know. That seems to be under a lot of pressure.
Uh-huh. Wow. It's gonna...
There we go.
You happy? Don't forget where you came from. Don't forget where you came from. No matter where you go, I'll be waiting right back home. Don't forget where you came from. Don't forget.
Emmy is such an animal person. She's been just devastated. We've had to get rid of these pack rats. This is our last chance of seeing the pack rat treasure. Look at, they had these compartments just packed full of leaves. Any of the empty ones. No treasure though. Well, that's our final wall, and that officially brings our demolition in this project to an end. And tomorrow we can finally get rolling on some floor sanding. Next up on Destination Adventures Resurrection Selection, this old generator. Hope you don't mind if I borrow this for the day. Being propane, I have a fair amount of confidence this thing's just gonna flash right up. My worry is the noise, because we do have neighbors here. Look at the old Ford right now. Looks like some type of doomsday machine. Well, that should be more than enough power to run that sander. Let's see about resurrecting this old floor.
That's noisy.
It doesn't sound right.
Really?
I don't know. Quick diagnosis. Turns out this thing is just supposed to make that terrible sound. Well, it's no secret. We have a lot of layers to get through, so we're gonna try some different belts. We have 36 and a 24. We're gonna start with the 36 just to make sure we don't end up with a big hole in the floor. This is the belt that it came with, so it was already kind of used up. This is what's going on there, and I'm actually a little bit worried about it. Okay, I'm gonna do the first round just to be safe. But I'm pretty concerned this is gonna be a little bit radical. This is exactly what I was hoping was hidden underneath here. Look at how beautiful this wood is. We want to get rid of all the filth that's on here, the pack rat nastiness, but a little bit of age to this wood is super nice. A little bit of this that you can see in here, or where the two boards join. Not sure what we're gonna end up with. We're kind of just gonna sand until we come up with something we're happy with. But so far, it's a heck of a lot of fun.
The future has come. Are you ready for the wave coming? I'll start a fire. I'll take it higher. I've been ready for your day coming. Sun's getting brighter. Can you see it? It's coming. It's a golden age.
Well, that's it for the propane, which means a trip to town. So let me walk you through the progress so far and my thoughts on the whole thing. First of all, quite a bit of work to achieve what we're looking for. But what we are wanting here is not necessarily a level floor, but a flat floor. Something where if you're walking around in socks or barefoot, it feels like a regular floor, while maintaining imperfect look, but not a look like somebody got lazy halfway through the job and quit doing it. And I think I'm starting to get there here at the end. Like this real low spot, it's not low enough where it's gonna be a problem walking around barefoot, but it looks nice. These stretches where it's still real dark in here, that needs a lot of work. Even this, I want to get rid of this. So maybe there's just a couple low spots that you see and the rest is flat. Soon we'll be moving the wood stove because underneath that really does have to be perfect because we're doing a brick hearth under and behind it. And if you have low spots, if you ever end up stepping on that brick or throwing a log down on it, it could break it or the mortar. So this does have to be perfectly flat and level. The rest of it, I want to maintain imperfection. But first, off to town for propane. If things go even half as planned today, we should be able to bring back the sander. But mostly, I'm just excited to fire up this generator. Got a brand new belt, 24 grit. Gonna see if we can take down this last section where the wood stove goes. Coming into the home stretch, a little bit of insulation downstairs, then onto the brickwork. Well, it's officially time to tackle this hearth / brick project. Never done brick or tile before in my life, so it's gonna be interesting. We ended up hooking up the wood stove for the last couple days just because it's gotten so cold in here, but obviously it has to come out for this project. And it has to be warm in here so that the mortar can set. Look at this radical kerosene heater I found. This thing's been in the shop for decades. I never knew what it was. We're gonna clean it up and see if we can get it going. Definitely gotta get rid of that. Can't have it smelling like burning poop in here. I just love old things like this. I've never used a kerosene heater before, so I'm not really sure what to expect. But this thing looks like it's basically in brand new condition. How much this heater gets used is really gonna come down to how efficient it is. Unless I can find a better place to buy kerosene. It was like $35 for this thing. Spilled most of it on the ground. Well, there's instructions right on the side. They seem pretty straightforward. It says if it's been out of kerosene for an extended period of time to let it sit for 20 minutes before you fill it. We're just gonna go for it. All the way clockwise. Oh, that did something. going right away. There we go. I am immediately super impressed with this little heater. It's throwing a ton of heat. It smells a little bit like kerosene, but I think that's because we just lit it, and for the first time in like decades. But it's gonna keep it nice and toasty in here, so let's get into some tile work. Let's do a rough layout of some tiles. One more change of plans, but I think I have it figured out. First of all, I think I've wasted this plywood. I put it here so that I can mount the heat shield to it. There's no reason I can't just mount the heat shield to the wall, and this is going to be a problem going forward. So I'm scrapping that. And then I think if I go with the 4 foot by 4 foot and I cut these front ones right through the middle, that's gonna give us a nice look and tons of cover in front and around the stove. I don't want to take up too much real estate within the floor plan here, but even with our kitchen layout idea, this isn't going to interfere, so let's make it permanent. Well, time for the big old tile saw learning curve. Don't think it's gonna be too challenging as long as I don't break it, because this is a borrowed tool. Attempt number 1 was a bust. I have to try not to do that too many times. I don't really have much for spare tiles. Well, I am a big fan of that tool, and I would say with only one broken tile, we did pretty good. Well, I have my basic layout here. What I am disappointed with is just how unsquare this corner is, these walls. Look at this gap over here, completely tight in the corner, then out to another gap. That made it really hard to space all my tiles correctly in there, but in the grand scheme of things, probably not a very big deal. So let's get into mixing up some mortar. What are we thinking? That's looking pretty good to me. Well, let's get right into this. I think it's important to mention, if you're doing this on a larger scale, you should not be laying your tile directly on the wood. I'm gonna, but you shouldn't. How's that looking? Well, that's looking pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and turf the first tile on there. Just see how it goes. I have them all numbered. Wow, I am enjoying that. Basic layout. Now I need some edge pieces. Just finished pulling out the spacers, and this is basically what we're left with. And I am pretty darn happy with it. You can see here in the corners, I just cut it flush, right? And then when you meet it up, it hits underneath there and it leaves a space. Well, I didn't have enough time to redo it and do it correctly because the mortar was drying. So I kind of just left it, but I actually don't know if it's really necessary because this thing being such a toe stubber, I'm gonna build a small little wood approach on there at some point. So not really the end of the world, but for a first try, I'm pretty darn happy with this. It needs 24 hours to sit before we can grout. So that's gonna be it for today. Gonna let it hang out by the little kerosene heater there overnight, and I'll see you guys here tomorrow. Coming up on the 24-hour mark with these tiles. We're not quite there, but I'm getting at it a little bit early. Full disclosure, I came in last night and this morning to check on this heater, and it is freaking awesome. I cannot believe this thing. It was -12 last night, about -9 right now outside, and it is toasty warm in here. It did consume the complete tank of fuel at around the 24-hour mark. I'm not entirely sure, but that's not too bad. I'm happy with that. I just have to find a cheaper place to get kerosene. Now it's time to get into some grout work. I suppose at some point in time, I'm just gonna have to call it good and go for it. If there is any part of this process that doesn't work out, it might be this part. Just not sure about this consistency, but here's what I'm using. I got this sponge trowel, specifically for grout. Here we go. And we're just gonna cram it in there, I guess. Well, when you buy black grout, they don't mess around. That is black. At this point in the project, not something I would consider myself to be proud of. And I think my grout needs more water. End result to this project is yet to be determined, but I gotta tell you, off to a questionable start, I think. But I mostly feel bad for all the wives out there, just getting an earful right now from their husbands about everything that Dustin's doing wrong. I can just hear it right now. You know, that Dustin guy, he's got some good jokes, but his tile work is just atrocious. And you know what? Wouldn't even argue with you. I hope this isn't going to be a disaster right now. It sure looks like a disaster. Oh, stepped right on it. Maybe I'm supposed to get this wet. Is that a thing? Is that part of it? I don't know, doesn't seem to be. I can say with a fair amount of confidence, something has gone drastically wrong. Okay, is this gonna be what saves the project? I don't know, we're gonna find out. Uh-oh. The other side of the sponge has a texture to it. Is that something? Doesn't really seem like it. Well, I know everybody went into a full panic there for a little bit, but I think things are going to be okay. What a guy wouldn't give for some hot water right about now. A little bit of panic there at the beginning, unjustified admittedly. Didn't realize I was going to turn into an absolute professional towards the home stretch of this thing. Things are looking pretty good. Would you take a look at these grout lines? Don't look so much at the tile lines, but that grout. Nice and even. And I am stoked on that black. Is it the best looking tile job in the neighborhood? Probably not. But will it hold a wood stove and look pretty decent doing it? Most definitely. But it does require another 24 hours to set before we can do any of that. So I'll meet you back here upon the morrow. Holy smokes, would you take a look at this thing? Not sure which masterclass tile worker snuck in here the last few days and made this look so good, but I sure do appreciate it. End result has far exceeded my expectations, but that is going to be a wrap on projects this week. So let's get into our weekly cost breakdown, starting with insulation. We went with Roxol R22, 15-inch centers for the walls, same product, but a 24-inch center for the ceiling, giving us a grand total of $1,935.53 for insulation. The floor sander was a daily rental. Ultimately, this floor should have been done with a planer. We did it with an industrial floor sander, so it took us 3 days and we consumed 8 belts. Grand total for that, $424. The folks at Broadway Rental helped us out with that. Big thanks to Broadway Rental. I'm going to do the hearth in one category. The tiles themselves were left over from when my parents built their place, so they were free. But the grout, the mortar, and the tools came to $142.69. We ended up using a whole bunch of buckets and boards and kerosene and propane and stuff throughout these builds. So I'm putting an extra $300 on consumables, giving us a grand total of $2,802.22. Certainly our most affordable week yet, which is pretty nice. You probably noticed that Emmy did a big disappearing act right in the middle of this episode. That's because the holidays are over, so unfortunately she's back home in Japan right now. But the projects will continue forwards. From myself here at Lot 32, thanks for watching, everybody.
I want to close my eyes and forget my sorrow. I don't care if the devil takes tomorrow. Ashes to ashes if I must. I want to leave all my troubles dust to dust. Trouble, trouble, trouble on my mind. I want to float like a bird, slow and low. I want to follow the river wherever it goes.